Freedom was gained in homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun. We vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrate in song as we rise to heights where we belong. Sound the victory drum for Caracom. The great and diverse be our ethnicities. The bonds that unite us are stronger than these. We dine, we pray, we love. We dance and we play. We relate to each other the West Indian way. Today as a people united as one. Determined and steadfast we stand. We look to a brand new horizon. The future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voices high and sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong. Feel our hearts beat as one. Celebrating song as we rise to heights where we
Welcome, brothers. Welcome, sisters. Welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, we never really have a subject matter. During this week, we have our personal challenges to get onto our radio station. So we are operating. So it's so difficult that you cannot use the telephone to call us. But we will read your posts. This program is very interactive and we encourages people to express their views and opinion. We speak about anything, politics, religion, socio-economic issues, or any topical issue or any issue trending. And if you post about topic you would like us to speak about, we will address it. We express our opinion on any subject matter once we are comfortable with the topic, particularly politics. We like politics and we express our opinion on it. Opinions are not facts, they are people's opinion. But because our democratic process in Grenada is strong, it gives us an opportunity that a lot of countries in the world don't have. I don't know if that would ever change. I hope it never change. But I intend to make maximum use of the opportunity that I have. And I encourage people to express themselves and their opinion on issue. That may well help to strengthen our institutions and otherwise. Today, Ukraine is at war with Russia. Europe like to fight. You know, in 1914, July 28, 1914, they started World War I. I think that ended somewhere in 1918. And immediately they had the Spanish flu, and that went on. And you had the Korean War. You had World War II, 1939, 1945. Millions of people die when you have a war. It's amazing, you know, the ease with which leaders start war. And the big ego does not prevent them from stopping. So they fight and they destroy people and ruin people's life. We did not do anything to contribute to this war. We have no say in this war. We could only listen to the radio and raise with pressure and worry. because we cannot stop nothing. Pope Francis has asked to pray and to fast, and particularly Ash Wednesday. He has declared it as a day of prayer and fasting for peace. Those of us who believe in Christianity, his call was on all religion, and who believe in peace, pray. That's the best you could do. There will be consequences for Grenada, and we must look at that. We must look at what are the consequences, what are the disadvantages, what are the fallouts, and we could have serious fallouts for us in the Caribbean, because it starts with Ukraine and Russia. But you know, when you see two dogs fighting in a village, sometime before you blink, 20 dogs involved in the fight and fight all about. The same thing that happened in World War I and World War II. So it could happen now. Before long, more countries could be involved in this war and it could cause a world war. Well, there's some good in it. They may not come to recruit Grenadians to go and fight again as in World War II. Some Grenadians drink sandbags, so they go have diarrhea when they come to pick them up. Some Grenadians went and fight. Ben Jones, I think, went reaching St. Lucia in the training group. I don't know if he actually reached in the war. Some Grenadians end up in Honduras. We lost a number of Grenadians fighting for the monarchy. But now war is so sophisticated, I don't think they want us to fight. Because it's so easy to train us in this modern military arsenal that they have. So we could stay in Grenada and try to get benefits from this destruction. Every time there is a disaster, or there is a calamity, there is a war, people benefit from it. Every time. So Grenadians must look at this war and see how are we going to benefit. Because the war must end. Even though they kill half the people in the world or 3/4 of people in the world, we need people to start back. How are we going to benefit? It is extremely important that we always try to prepare our children to be competitive on the job market, in the marketplace. You don't want to tamper with the ball, but nothing is wrong in fixing the pitch to suit your children. They fix the pitch to suit cricketers. Some of the cricketers, when they cannot bat, when they fail, they complain the pitch no good. A good batsman bat on any pitch, but the majority of batsmen would like a good pitch. And if you have a strong bowling side, you want a pitch that favors the bowling. And if you have a strong batting side, you want it. So we in the third world countries are poor people. Ukraine have 44 million people. So it might be easy for Russia to conquer Ukraine, but it's not easy to rule Ukraine. Russia found that out in Afghanistan. Then the United States found that out in Afghanistan. So it's not easy to conquer people of 44 million people and rule them, particularly when they have a plutonium and an entourage of friends outside trying to challenge you. Russia's economy is not all that strong. So after 3-4 months, and if Russia starts to slaughter people in Ukraine, the Western press is going to be playing it. It's going to be playing on people's mind, and Russia is going to look as the big bad wolf. And the economy could end up in more trouble. And then the people could start to issue what you're killing these people for. Because these are the days when we put everything on Facebook. And it's so easy to see children slaughtered in the street. So we in Grenada here, we cannot stop the war. But we must understand there are repercussions for us. Because we trade. The price of oil could go up significantly. Governments would have to lobby more. The price of certain goods would fly up. You know, people are drinking milk again. You know. In the olden days, when Tilita come out in jail, she go and get goat milk to give her children. Nowadays, there are no goat for milk. We have to import these things. Grenadians changing the diet. We no longer want local food. I hear a number of people on the radio bawling plant local. Even those that say plant local, they're not eating local. We want foreign foods. We want macaroni. We want corned beef. We want tin stuff. We want lasagna. We want foreign things. We really don't want local. But don't believe me. Start to observe. When you go in a restaurant and eat, watch and see what farmers eating. See if farmers want fig and blogo and vegetables and provision and kalalu in a restaurant. The farmers want rice. The farmers want macaroni. The farmers want chow mein. The same farmers that quarreling they can't get the things sell, they're not buying it. Go and tell me if you could get potato pudding in a supermarket. If you could get it, tell me. Tell me if you could buy a bar of cocoa, Grenadian chocolate for your little child that's going to school for 50 cents. Take a Grenadian bar of chocolate and give your child and then watch their face. See if they don't spit in it out. And then tell me what's wrong with the cocoa board. If you make a product for the market and no children is comfortable with consuming it, who you targeting? Now that you have war between Ukraine and Russia, and the possibility is it will escalate, but it will directly affect shipping trade and likely to make goods higher. And it might be difficult for your products to go to Europe and your nutmeg to go in Russia. Tell me where you're selling those cocoa you have that Grenadian children don't want. And Grenadian people don't know, big people, farmers. Or don't believe me, ask any loudmouth farmer in Grenada, when last did they buy a bar of chocolate? So we're supposed to sit down here now and try to find out how we benefit from this disaster, from the calamity, for the destruction, from the death that is going on, that will be going on in Europe. You see, sometimes one man poison and the next man medicine. It always have to be Grenada. I like Chester Humphrey. You know? He come up with Project Grenada. And I like that. Sometimes I hope and pray we could move away from the party politics slightly and concentrate on Grenada. Difficult thing to do. Very difficult. But we have to try. In small countries, democracy is very polarizing. People like to pick up the political color and take sides. Sometimes they're not very loud. Sometimes they're very quiet. These are even the most dangerous ones. But what they do tend to be straight for the party and not for Grenada. So I really thought that the idea of Project Grenada would have been promoted more. Maybe the individuals, the architectures of it, people thought it was a political ploy to gain accommodation. It could have been, but the idea is good. You see, when an idea comes out, we must not always look for it for its faults, but we must look for the benefits, what we could make out of it. So now that we're just in a transition phase with COVID-19, where we're going back to normal, and where the attitude is who dead, dead. That's really the policy now in the world, you know. Who dead, dead. We gave you an option to take vaccine. If you don't take vaccine, there is nothing more we can do. The vaccine is available. It is in front of your face. It is accessible to you. It is free to you. So we cannot continue to collapse the world economy to facilitate you. So my appeal to the people who is most vulnerable, the old people, the people who are suffering with high blood pressure, sugar, cancer survivors, pregnant women, women who may get pregnant, who want to be pregnant, and who in the proximity of pregnancy. You have some women, they don't know how they get pregnant because they had no intention, but it was in pregnancy proximity, so they get pregnant. It is important for you to be vaccinated. If you get comorbidities, if you have comorbidities, for instance, if you're over 60 and you have high blood pressure, they consider you as a candidate, you are comorbidity. So try to get the vaccine to protect yourself. The young men and young women outside there who don't care, they would not die. They're young, they're strong, they could jump up job, they could play Mass Friday and set up. Saturday, they could go and dance and set up. Sunday, they could play Juve whole night. Monday morning, they could jump in the street, play Mass in the evening, play Mass Tuesday, and get up and go to work Wednesday morning if they want to go. But you that old, you cannot do that. And that is the difference. So your resistance is most suspect. So go and get the vaccine. Now it's a good time because you have war in Europe that might get worse. And when these things happen, we must concentrate on Grenada. Grenada is well poised in the Caribbean for takeoff. I continue to repeat that because we have a number of the enemies of progress in Grenada, on the radio station, in social media, doing as if Grenada is the worst country in the world. And I'll tell you why I say that. Electricity, telephone, water, and the internet service in Grenada is second to none, comparable with the best and better than most. The garbage collection system in Grenada is relatively good. I think it could be better, but it's relatively good. We have one of the best network of roads in the region. And the quality of the roads is comparable and relatively good, particularly village roads. When I pass in some village, when I pass in Ticolo and I see road, I say, yes, we have made a lot of improvement. I remember how way we used to pass to go to school. So even our teacher to children ratio is better than the United States of America, is better than England, and better a lot of other countries. Government spend 10% of the GDP on education, and Grenada is not overtaxed. I don't like to pay tax at all. When tax time coming, my head does hurt me. You just make me go and drink around. But the country cannot run without tax. And the country is not overtaxed. Why do I say that? When you say these things, you must tell people why. Why I say that? You have to be having an income of $3,000 or more before you pay tax more than a vagrant. If your income is $3,000 or less, you're paying the same tax as a madman. You say you're paying the same tax as an unemployed person. So Grenada is not overtaxed. But if you don't believe me, call and find out what's going on in St. Vincent. Ask what's going on in Barbados. Call our brothers in the diaspora, your brother and sister in America, and ask them. Grenada have the most landowners in the region, and I would not be surprised if it is in the world. So if I don't go to heaven, I ain't to worry you once I stay in Grenada. But we must strengthen our country. We have to do better for people. Having all these infrastructure pluses, then we must do better. I think Grenada is well placed to perform the best in the Caribbean. And if we change, and I believe we could change in the next 5 to 10 years, I'm very optimistic that Grenada can make some serious change if we address the attitude of our people. And if we change, Africa changing too. Africa changing too. You see, we have institutions in Grenada that I think we need to zero in on. We always have the politicians under scrutiny. And you know, I kind of like the politicians. You know, I have a soft heart for them because I believe politicians is the most hardworking, dedicated, committed, conscientious, and generous and charitable people in Grenada. And the hardest working people. Well, if you say that, I must give you a reason why I say that. Why I say that. You pick up an individual because of his sociability, it seems his winnability, his popularity, and he gets into politics and he win election. And from the day this individual win election, he have to solve people problem. Whether it's the doctor, the lawyer, the church, the people who come from the lower socio-economic strata, that politician brain thinking how to solve problem. And if he survives more than one term, you know he tried. Some politicians tried, but he couldn't make it. One term. And people say, no, no, you can't bring load. Get out. You will make me drunk. No, 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 you can't swim. Get out. You don't have answers. Get out. But if you hear a politician run and he survive a term, that politician could talk a say. He could bend the way. He could handle things. And a lot of them have tried their best. So I hold them in highest esteem. When I compare other professions in the country, lawyers, doctors, other public officers, the politicians comes out the best. Grenada have to strengthen its institutions. And one of the institutions that needs strengthening is the trade union. The trade union wield a lot of power in Grenada because they represent the majority of workers, and rightly so. And absolutely nothing wrong in the trade union playing politics. Politics and the trade union is practically synonymous. But the trade union must play politics for its members, not for a political party. This is the challenge that I have in Grenada. It seems to me that the trade union politics is not in the interest of the workers. It is in the interest of political parties. I am not saying you shouldn't lobby all political parties. And I'm not saying there are times you should actively campaign with a political party if they're going to suit your interests. But if you historically and chronically attached to a political party, whether they are successful or not, I think you're on the wrong track. The Grenada trade union movement need to go back in the lab, do a post-mortem on themselves, and refocus. You see, sometimes we are our own worst enemies. In 1974, you could say from 1951 upward, the battle in the Gary era. Prior to independence, we had the trade union join up with other committees because they don't want independence. They don't want Grenada to get independence. And after the revolution, the trade union joined up with the revolution. And many of the laws of the trade union, of the revolution, was anti-trade union. Yet, only one trade union that struggled not to be in the jaws of the revolution was the Public Workers Union. All the other union was encapsulated. This is one of the reasons when Maurice Bishop passed the Pension Disqualification Act, no trade union squeak. Those that was upset, they couldn't bother with that. They was fighting for the survival. They couldn't take on that. Brothers and sisters went to jail. 3,000 Grenadians was in prison. People left the country in droves. The trade union didn't even raise an eyebrow. At that time, the trade union was not working in the trade union interest. In 1989, the trade union went after Mr. Blaze. The trade union was correct. In all fairness, they offered an olive branch to Mr. Blaze. Mr. Blaze did not take the olive branch because I don't think he was well schooled. Mr. Blaze was not accustomed dealing with this kind of energy that was there. You had an energy from the revolution, because the revolution failed. A number of people were angry and upset. We had an energy from the gay rights who thought they saw a new hope come. And we had an energy from people who comes outside, for instance, like GDM and Brizan and all the others. And during that time, the trade union was extremely militant. But in all truth, they offered an olive branch to Mr. Blaze. When they realized he could not have paid the back pay, not front pay, they fought for him, back pay, before Christmas, they went to him. And they say, we understand that you're having difficulties paying us our money. So tell us how much money you could pay us. Mr. Blaze chastised the union for listening to rumor. He said, we're making up your money. Why are you listening to rumors? So the unions returned with a tail between their laps. Now, when you are a union leader, you face two forces. You face the force of your employer, and in Grenada, respect, that generally is the government. And you want to fight that government as hard as nail. And you face another force, your workers, your constituents, the people you represent. They always believe you go sell them out. They're always quick to call you traitors and say you take bribe. So they want you to fight the government as hard as nail. And if you didn't make a fight and you settle, they say you sell out. So trade union leaders in Grenada, in this dilemma, they always have to give the impression that they're extremely bad and fearless and bold, because they to satisfy the constituents. So even when they know the government is correct, the government is right, the answer is, how will we face our workers to tell them that? That have to change. You see, in 1989, yes, the government didn't take the olive branch then, but our union leaders feared the workers more than government, or the second-tier leaders who was ready, willing, and prepared to displace them, because they was energetic, young, militant, and loose. So Mr. Blaze ordered that the only way you could get your money, if you get all the parliamentarians to come back in parliament and give me a blank check to get the money where I get it. No, I mean, this is crazy, but it was done. The ministers of government, the trade union lobby the members of parliament, those who was not supporting Mr. Blaze, to go back in parliament and vote for one thing and one thing alone, to get we money for us for Christmas. Now, how that could be? When you look at it, how that could be. But I don't blame the politicians, because if I was a politician and I wanted to win my seat, I would have done that too. That is the way I thought Chester Humphrey Project Grenada is important. And I believe more people must consider what is good for Grenada. Because in no way Mr. Blaze should get that blank check. Mr. Blaze got the money. The union got their back pay. They wine for Christmas. They enjoy themselves. They buy out all the furnitures in the furniture shops. I don't know the name. They buy food. They buy ham, jam, lamb. And in January, they were informed that government sold the telecommunication network. Some trade union leaders were shocked. Some wanted to cry. But the hard reality is the trade union and the politician gave Mr. Blaze a blank check to get the money wherever he could get it. The bank was not going to give him without parliamentary approval. So he had to get it, and he had to get it to sell assets. There was nothing else to sell. So he sold the electricity company. We're lucky it wasn't ours. And then they sold telephone company. And then they sold the hotels. And then they sold about 13 pieces of property to meet current expenditure. And nobody in Grenada said nothing. Perhaps the trade union leaders then were so shocked at the realization of what they do, but at least they could have faced their constituents as heroes. And Mr. Blaze must say, as usual, well, it's not my assets, it's theirs. The same thing he said when 1979, he went to Carriacou, sat down on his wheelchair, and sing, "Bind us together, Lord, bind us together," till the Americans come. And when the Americans come, he said he don't want to hand me down, he want to help me. And the Americans was very happy. Now we must not make this mistake. The trade union in Grenada is very powerful. And trade union leaders are practically afraid of the constituents. The constituents going to tell them they sell out. You're corrupt. The government buy you. They're practically blackmailing. While the power of the union mauls the authority. Mr. Blaze retrenched workers. George Rizan cut social expenditure and created, I think, the debt service levy. I think it was wrong his time the debt service levy come out to balance the book. But cutting social spending is like your wife, you have economic problems, so no more chicken leg in the house, is back and neck straight and feed and blog up, and your wife cannot do her hair anymore, and you suspend the dental treatment for your children's teeth, and your daughter can't go in college, and then you balance the book. But by the time you finish, your wife leave you, your daughter pregnant, and one suffering from malnutrition and rickets. Then during the Kit Mitchell period, they would have seen what happened in the past. And Kit Mitchell have the tendency to think. He's one of the thinking politicians in Grenada. So he decided, I'm not going back this retrenchment route. And I'm not cutting social spending. So the International Monetary Fund accepted his program, and he was successful. We must think in Grenada. I watched the trade union action vis-a-vis COVID-19. It wasn't good. They was not assertive. They was not decisive. They didn't take the lead. I always say that the tears from the workers of St. George's University is as a direct responsibility of the paralysis of the trade union leaders. The trade union leaders had to get the best constitutional lawyer, two of the best constitutional lawyers in the Caribbean, and get the opinion on mandatory vaccine. They did not do that. The trade union had to get medical doctors and get an opinion on the vaccine and adhering to the protocol as a means of managing COVID-19. They did not do that. When trade union leaders take vaccine, they should have told the public, their members, and by mean the public, that I took the vaccine because I believe that is the best option available. They did not do that. The trade union leaders did not tell the workers who was advising them on COVID-19, whether it's Jumbi, whether it's social media, or who. This is wrong. This is unacceptable. This is not good. You cannot have a pandemic that affects the whole world. And governments in the Caribbean claim that we are taking advice from the reputable medical organization in the world. And that is the right thing to do. Because politicians are not medical experts. So they went to the reputable medical organization, the World Health Organization, PAHO, CAFA, CDC, and their own medical doctors in Grenada. And they follow them to the T, bearing in mind that you have to have some little manipulation, social and political manipulation, to make it palatable. The trade union did not do that. Today, I believe the trade union should own their own radio stations. We have 30 radio stations in Grenada. The Grenada Trade Union Council should own their own radio station. And they should use this radio station to provide information for the public. And they can extend that facilities to the rest of the Caribbean. Technology today make it feasible. So the trade union must do that. The trade union must think. It is very disastrous when you have leaders who are not thinking. Not because a man has master's degree. And most of the trade union leaders today, unlike yesteryear, they have master's degree and doctorates and bachelor's degree. Some of them have traveled a number of countries, not like the trade union leaders of yesteryear. They didn't have nothing. Some of them did not even have a secondary school education, except love, passion, and want to see things better. Our trade union leaders bright. They have a briefcase of certificate. But to me, they just walk around with a bag of problems. They don't think. They behave as if they're regurgitating. You know, as commission agent for the multinational corporation. Chester Humphrey with the last communist. 3 communists you have in Grenada. Chester Humphrey, John Galt, and me. And Chester Humphrey would tell you that ideology is not important in the world today. It's what is good for your country economically that's important. Chester Humphrey will tell you that. So there is no ideology for trade union to follow now. The trade union must think. Apply for a radio station. You have 8 trade unions in Grenada. The teachers union, that is the first union I think started in 1913. Trade unions generally start around in the Caribbean around 1920. The teachers trade union started in 1913. We have Gary Union, I think in 1951 or 55 or somewhere. You have Bank and General Workers Union. You have Technical and Allied Workers Union. You have Commercial and Industrial Workers Union. You have the Grenada Maritime Mental Workers Union. That is Gary Union. You have Taxi Owners and Drivers Association. And you have the feared Cement and Waterfront Workers Union of the 70s. The port workers, they're powerful. They say we're locking down the country. But these people, this breed of union leaders, they are not thinkers. I think they're a little too egoistic. They don't know what is love, and they're not thinking. And they seem to be picking some unnecessary fight, and they're cannibalizing. That is dangerous. Now, in small countries like ours, institutions are very important. In small countries like ours, institutions with character is paramount. So you must study our institutions. The Bar Association is one of the old institutions in Grenada. I call them institution, organization. They're not very helpful to us. The non-governmental organization, all of them change. All of them anti-government. Some of them join political parties now. So non-governmental organization lose their significance. The trade union must seriously look at the character. In recent time, the trade union declared war on our children. I think they committed a cardinal sin. And after about 2 years, I am not convinced that the trade union know what they do, the impact of what they do. I expected our psychologists and social scientists to be concerned. But most of these people, as soon as they come out in university, they lose their tongue. They don't have the ability to go in the private sector and make money. Maybe one or two. The majority of them don't have the ability. So normally they go and join government and stagnate the process. With all this issue in Jamaica, violence in Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Grenada, tell me if you've seen any article on the newspaper written by psychologists. Tell me if you see any psychologists on social media making anything that could be helpful. Tell me if you see them in the village. Every time you speak to a young girl, and I like to speak to them, they say they're studying psychology and management, psychology and economics, management and psychology. When you speak to them, one of them say the teacher needs some psychology teaching for herself. Now, how come we don't see the impact in the community if we invest so much money in them? So it's difficult for them to observe the impact of what the trade union did to our children. I say it's an abomination. They declare war on our children. I challenge the psychologists. What would be the impact in the next 10 years? Because that's when you will see the impact. When children go to school and you declare that your attitude to them is work to rule. Your children is not an innate object or something. It's not a book or a basket you're making. It's not animals you're dealing with that you expect to go in the slaughterhouse quickly. Because you know they treat pigs for the slaughterhouse quick different from sows that you expect to remain a long time. If you have a pig as a fattener, you don't want much space. You just want it to eat, lie down. You don't want it burn out too much energy. So the food that it's eating, you want a high conversion rate. You don't want it, use it for moving around. But if you have a sow, you must give it exercise. So the children we are teaching in school, particularly now that we add technology with it, if you continue to propagate this alien phenomenon of work to rule, what is going to happen to our children? The children from Tikolo, they have no opportunity to socialize with the children from Congo Town or to Congo, although they go in the same school. There's no groups in the school. Tell me when last you hear a concert in the school. Well, let's talk before COVID-19, because everybody will say COVID-19. But before COVID-19, go back and try to find out when last you had a concert in the school. So this process started individually before the trade union decide to make it a policy, they abandon sports. When Grenada is making a name in the Olympics, our black people, our own black people decide they go abandon sports. No concert in school, no forage club dying. The only reason it is existing still in name, because government have paid extension officers to go in the school to see if they could keep it. And if you hear their story, it's chilling. They don't even want to make Christmas party for the children. No cook. So when these children are socializing, no cricket. So you have a child going to school for 13 and a half years. And the children in his class living in another village close to him, or in the same community, but different Sugar Hill and Benback Hill and all kind of things. And no opportunity to socialize. We're giving rise to crime. And anybody who go to school or go in national college would have done a little psychology, would have done a little sociology. And if you have a bachelor's degree, you must do some psychology and know the impact and effect of that. Now tell me how unions could sit down and come up with an alien phenomenon that is so detrimental to children. The children never do them wrong. Even if you want to fight government, then why fight the children in that manner? That war is so destructive on them. I don't think any other trade union in the Caribbean has ever done that. The Grenada trade union leaders have committed the worst sin against children. I tell you, almost everybody is Christian. When we say Christian, that don't mean we're going in heaven. It means we're trying our best to follow Christ. And Christ's teaching is good. He said one man, one wife. It's a good teaching. Women are supposed to like that. If I was Islam, I'd have 5 wives. And you could beat your wife in Islam. Islam say you could admonish her. They said deny her your bedroom. And you could beat her slightly. But imagine you have 250 pounds and you're beating your 90-pound wife slightly. And you could deny your bedroom. But we're not Islam. We're Christians. Christians say one wife. Christians have some good forgive. I see people only calling for vengeance and vigilante justice. Christianity say forgive. So the trade union leaders didn't know that. The Bible also says, suffer not, something like that, the children to come unto me. And something to the effect that if you harm the children, it's better to put a millstone around your neck and jump in the deepest part of this. Now tell me how the trade union could have sat down and come up with this abomination. And they still have it. What is the justification? What is the rationale? Why? They say the government deduct the pay. Well, I say if you don't work, you don't supposed to get paid. And it's not the first time in Grenada history that workers, when they did not go to work, government did not pay them. It happened in Mr. Blair's era. The union strike for 2 days. And the government did not pay the union for the 2 days. And the union just shrug it off. Because they say, we could deny our labor, but the employer don't have to pay us for the day that we don't work. Nowhere in the private sector that could happen. But more often than not, we mar, we blackmail, and we subject governments to make decisions that is counterproductive towards our own economy. This government perhaps flexed a little because it feels strong. And it was the right thing to do. But what's about when you meet a weak government? The trade union will ramrod their way through them to the detriment of Grenada. Like 1989, the Mr. Blair's political party was badly fractured. They was facing an election. So Mr. Blair sold the telephone company. And if the telephone company could have charged a bird flying in the sky, they had the legal authority to charge. Now we can't continue that. These institutions must have character. And we must be able to call them out. Government can't call them out. The politician is in a 5-year cycle. The politician may take some strong, harsh actions in the first 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, if they're popular. And after that, any political group is more cognizant of survival throughout the whole Caribbean. So it depends on the strength of your institutions to continue. But if your institutions play in politics, if your institutions is infantile, if your institutions prepare to maul and use the power to blackmail government, then what country are you going to have? What country are you going to have? I would like the trade union to abandon this work to rule. But don't believe me. Ask your children in the school. Talk to your children. I believe in communication. Speaking to a small boy one day, meet him on a step a lot of years ago. With some little girls, those girls reading like fire. I asked why you don't get the boy read. They just laugh. They say, that can read. They have a method in school of calling it. That can read. I said, no, man, my partner could read. You can't make it. I said, what about your teacher? He told me one good teacher that's in the school. The little girls in same class with him didn't agree with him. They say, you have 2 good teachers. He said, 1, but she don't teaching him. But the children, the other girls say, no, it's 2 good teachers in the school. And over the years in my research, anytime a school have 5 good teachers, that school does very well. If they have 5 good teachers and a principal that kind of smart, that school does very well. And they don't have much chronic discipline problem. But don't believe me, start to talk with your children. I would like the trade union to call off this work to rule. You have some workers that use any excuse not to work. That is a fact of life. But I believe that the union should call off this work to rule. Or they should have a postmortem, have a meeting, and see what are some of the effects of the work to rule on the teachers. People are going to lose respect for the teachers. Teachers commanded a lot of respect, particularly in the village. Everybody calling them teacher. The doctor, teacher. Everybody teacher, teach. They don't even know the name. Even the man that want to quote them, teacher. They're going to dilute the respect for you. Some of the students that leave your school, just as how you believe in vengeance, they're going to believe in that too. Our standards is going to drop. We're going to have less people succeeding in maths and English. Some children go to school because of the fellowship, because of the relationship with the teacher. One guy tell me it's because of the espirico in the school. I don't know what you mean. Some children go to school because of sports. Some children go to school because of the cultural program. Some children go to school because of the groups. Education, the routine formal learning. Sometimes they're not attracted to it, but because of the group and the confidence build, they do better in school. I'm willing to bet you that if we raise the confidence of our children, particularly our boys, they will do better in maths and English. Because one of the challenges, particularly males, they tend to low in confidence at a younger age. And they don't do that well in school. And after they fail, the teacher call them that. They say, that no good, man. That gone through already. That fail already. That giving trouble. Children are profiled. No, I was concerned when it was happening from individual teachers. But when the trade union declares systematic war on our own children, Grenada trade union leaders have to mad. It shows gross immaturity in you. Go and speak to, don't believe me, call in a psychologist. Call in your psychologist. I know you all would not reference those old trade union leaders because you start to disfigure the face in your office. There are some trade union leaders, I understand, they're disfiguring the face, the pictures, where some trade union leaders put up their face in the office, or maybe when they live in, the group put up the face. Some trade union leaders took down the pictures, or bar the face, or disfigure the face. Well, if you can reference those who have gone before, it must have been they do something good. So even if you don't like them in toto, but there must be a little thing that you could have said, at least they have done that good. No man is perfect. If we was looking at Mahatma Gandhi now, you'd have called him a racist. They are removing some statues in Africa of Mahatma Gandhi because of some of his racial statements against black people. They might have called him a pedophile. Mahatma Gandhi, the great Mahatma Gandhi. No one is perfect. St. Saul was persecuting the Christians. Christ blinded him and he turned into Paul. David take Uriah's wife. No one is perfect. When a trade union group take a decision to declare war on children, when a trade union group take a decision to remove the portrait of trade union leaders of yesteryear, you know they're cannibalizing. They're losing empathy and compassion. They have a different agenda. They're reaching a stage where they don't care. I can't advise, but I want the trade union to look at the possibility of opening your own radio station. We have 30 radio stations in Grenada. And you're a big organization at the Trade Union Council. 8 trade unions. Taxi owners and drivers are not part of the TUC, but they work close with TUC. And that trade union started along 1955. I think Bank and General started after the revolution, 1977. So think about it. You know, we can't continue like that. We have to prepare to do better. We could change things in this country. We could make a big difference in this country, and we could change things, you know? We could change things. Yeah. It's very, very important for us to change things in this country. We could change it. Let's change it. Yeah. I think it's important. You know, we could change things, and we must believe in ourselves, and we must change it. One of the things we could do, and we should do it, the trade union perhaps should encourage its members to invest in flowers? You know, we have to have answers. And perhaps the trade union, these mass members you have, maybe it might be a good thing for you to encourage your members to plant flowers.
Visit our location and enjoy the wonders of nature. Color, fragrance, design, beauty, and positive energy. Prices are always affordable. Life is a celebration. Contact us at 410-7643 or 456-3439 or 414-9969.
We want to thank you very much for being with us today. And as usual, we're back with you on Monday. And maybe by Monday, we will be able to take calls. We'll be able to function from a radio station or back maybe at Star FM 101. We may be able to function there, but we prefer a very interactive session. Thank you.
On the